This is episode 01 with entrepreneur and financial advisor Jason Clevlen.
You may know the destination, but do you know the path to take you there? This is Profits to Wealth. We shorten the time it takes for entrepreneurs to find true success through guided conversations alongside industry elites. We'll cover your commonly asked questions and dive into the skills, tactics, and lessons learned from business professionals who've turned the industry on its head through experience, critical thinking, as well as practical money management. It's time to talk business, money, and freedom with your host, Jack Marino Jr.
Jim Rohn said, if you go to work on your goals will go to work on you. If you go to work on your plan will go to work on you. Whatever good things we build end up building us. Welcome to Profits to Wealth. This is your host, Jack Marino Jr. Today on the show, I have the pleasure of interviewing my business partner, Jason Clevlen. Jason is the co-founder of Lake Hills Wealth Management, where he serves as wealth advisor, CFO, and head of financial planning. Jason has been helping clients to achieve their financial goals and dreams for over 16 years. He earned a business degree from the University of Texas San Antonio with a focus on finance and accounting. Jason is a certified financial planner and a serial entrepreneur as well. He describes himself as a student that is driven to continuously learn and improve his skills to better serve his clients, friends, and family. In this episode, Jason introduces Lake Hills Wealth Management, a firm he and I founded in 2017. Jason reveals the aspects of a fee-only financial advisor. He also discusses the benefits of hiring a financial advisor, what areas that professional can help with, and how to go about hiring one. Be sure to stay tuned to the end, where Jason reveals some personal attributes, recommendations, and how listeners can contact him with questions. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Glad to be here, Jack. Looking forward to our discussion today.
I as well. So I'm actually really excited about this episode because we get to introduce the listeners to Lake Hills Wealth Management, a firm that we founded in 2017. So why don't you kick us off and tell us more about Lake Hills Wealth Management?
Definitely. Lake Hills Wealth Management is a financial planning firm. We are financial advisors. We're working with our clients to help them reach their financial goals and dreams and to guide them along the way. You and I started in this industry back in 2003, so we've been working together for a while now.
There was no iPhone then.
There was not. It was close, though. And when I think back to when we started out in this industry, working in that broker-dealer world, and for those that aren't familiar, there's a lot of the big firms out there they're the broker-dealers. They can sell investments. They can also provide investment advice. But that's the biggest difference. They can sell investments as well as provide advice. And the way we're set up at Lake Hills Wealth Management is we are a fee-only registered investment advisory firm. So we charge a fee for advice, and there's good advisors out there all over the place, but we believe that the fee-only model is the best for clients because it really does a good job of aligning the advisor's interest with the client's interest. So rather than the advisor needing to sell something to the client to earn a living, we're just providing advice and giving advice that's in the client's best interest. That's what clients hire us to do. And we don't have to, there's no product sales that take place. So we're focused on comprehensive financial planning and investment management.
So the difference is, just so everyone understands, so the broker-dealer model is still giving advice, and it could be, you could charge a plan fee technically to do a financial plan for a client, but I think what's probably more customary is doing a free plan, possibly. That's probably going to be in lieu of a commission, right? Because that's how they make money. So in the broker-dealer world, there is commissions. So selling products, if you will, insurance or some investments that provide an upfront commission, much like a real estate agent. And fee only is removing those commissions and basically working in alignment with the client's interest, where, hey, I want to work with you. I want to engage with you. I want you to be my personal CFO, but we're going to do that for a fee.
Exactly. That's right. There's good advisors out there everywhere. I just think with the fee only model, it really does a good job of removing any uncertainty that the client might have. If a client comes to us and we're discussing, what they need to be doing from a financial perspective, and maybe they need a life insurance policy. If we're recommending they need a life insurance policy and we tell them, we've run the numbers, it shows you have a $2 million need here. And when we make that recommendation, there's no question in the client's mind that, yep, I need this policy. He's not trying to sell me a big policy to earn a commission. And so that's where some of the real advantages come into this fee only structure.
Yeah, I think that's important that we point that out because, and I'm glad that you brought up that there are good advisors that are in the broker dealer model. It's not that that model is necessarily evil or broken. It's just that there's a lot of room for conflicts of interest there versus on the fee only model, you're removing not all of them. There's still some conflicts of interest, to be fair. It's just removing most of those conflicts of interest. Would you agree?
Exactly. Yep.
So when do you remember the CFP exam?
I do. We did that. We started our coursework to earn the CFP, and that stands for Certified Financial Planner. We started that, I believe, back in 2007, 2008, and sat for the exam in 2009. So we've been certified financial planners for a decade now. And that's a CFP is a good baseline. In my opinion, at a minimum, an advisor should become a CFP if they're really committed to this career. And that shows that they have a certain baseline of knowledge to provide solid advice to clients.
Yeah, so I guess it would be like hiring an accountant versus a CPA.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't get your CFP if you don't have certain amount of years of experience in the industry, which is fair. There's difference between theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge that happens in the real world. And a lot of things in the textbooks don't necessarily make sense. So I think hiring a CFP, you can at least know that they are educated people that have to have a college degree and that have to prove themselves in the industry. So I agree with you that that isn't something that a client, if they're looking for an advisor, that they should look for the CFP marks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And something else I wanted to mention about, what drew me to this career, and, you and I have discussed it many times in the past. I know this drew you as well, but we have an affinity for helping people. I mean, that's really the most enjoyable aspect of being a financial advisor is we are fortunate enough that we get to work closely with a lot of different people from different walks of life and really get to understand what their goals are, what their dreams are, what they're trying to achieve. And we get to map out a plan for how they're going to do that. How we can get them from where they are today to this future destination. We often refer to that as, creating a roadmap for their finances. And, once we get that roadmap laid out, then we're guiding them and helping them not only make sure they're taking care of, the everyday stuff, but keeping one eye on, the long game.
Right. So just so I think it's important, we've been in this career since 2003, which seems like forever. And we've evolved over time. And I think what's important to us, like you said, is helping people. But I'm so glad that we went through the route of the broker dealer first and worked for the bigger companies, Morgan Stanley and American Express, because it really gave us the ability to say, hey, what did we like and what didn't we like about those broker dealer platform or those other platforms, and say, okay, if we're going to create something, we have a blank canvas, which is what we did in 2017. What would we change? And that's exactly what we did when we formed Lake Hills Wealth Management. We really needed that experience and context to say, how can we create the best platform for our clients, our ideal clients, which is our entrepreneurs, and be on the same level as in, hey, what we do, how we invest our money, how we plan for the future is the same way that you are.
That's exactly right. In any industry, you don't know what you don't know until you get in it and start working in the business, in the industry, learning the ropes. And once you get in and you start doing business and competing with other firms, you start to figure out, hey, this may not be the best way to do this type of service. Or you see something else and say, that's a really great idea. And once we put our time in through many, many discussions, we were able to paint that picture for what direction we wanted to go within the financial services industry. And that's ultimately what, brought us to the point of creating Lake Hills Wealth Management. Our entrepreneurial juices were flowing, and absolutely, I'm glad you brought that up. That's, had a huge impact on me, on you, and that's how we ended up where we are today.
Absolutely. So we've come a long way since 2003, both from an education standpoint, experience, a platform, technology, etc. So what has any of the services you think that we provide our clients changed? What really are those services?
Fundamentally, the service and the advice is the same as it was in 2003. The technology has definitely changed, and we've been tried to be very forward thinking about technology and how we can utilize that in our practice to improve the service and the client experience. But as we're going through and working with clients and providing advice, really we focus first on their personal finances and everything that has to do with their personal finances. So we start with the basics. You have to build a solid foundation. And so we've got to make sure that cash flow is under control. We want to make sure people are not overspending. We analyze if there's debt. Let's take a look at the debt situation and make sure that we optimize that and that debt is trending down. Cash reserves, we want to make sure there's a safety net in place in case there's fluctuations of income, in case unexpected expenses come up. Sometimes opportunities also come along, and it's helpful to have some cash available. So what's the appropriate amount and how can we structure that? We review insurance needs for clients, everything from life insurance, disability, long-term care, health insurance, liability protections, auto and home, all that. We want to make sure clients are protected, and really going through all of those areas first is what establishes that solid foundation. We want to make sure we've got all that buttoned up. Unforeseen expenses come along. If something unfortunate happens, we've got everything in place to make sure it's taken care of. And from that point, we're focused on growing the client's net worth, helping them reach their goals. There's a number of accumulation goals they might be saving for, such as a child's college education. Maybe they want to save first or second home. So coming up with appropriate strategies for how they can accumulate and invest those assets. Also we put a lot of focus on retirement planning. You and I, we are fortunate that we love what we do. And so, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? But who knows, you may get to the point where you can't work someday. And so it's important to achieve financial independence. And that to me means you get to the point that you've created enough financial security that you no longer have to work if you don't want to. You're not dependent on that paycheck. You've accumulated enough assets that you can support yourself in the lifestyle that you want.
Right. Which is what we're trying to do. That's our initiative for each and every one of our clients, right? Is get them to the point of financial independence or financial freedom. It's not about not working anymore. It's about the ability to say, no, I don't need to work anymore. I may do something switch gears even and change careers and do something that I really enjoy but doesn't pay much. So it's really the option to work or not. And most people obviously don't have that option, or at least for not long, right? They run out of cash and reserves and forced to get back on the bike again. So really, there's two services that we're offering, right? It's financial planning, and then you've got investment management. So we've talked about this before, the little acronym that we use, GPS. So what the first thing that we do when we meet with a client is figuring out what their goals are, right? And trying to
Yep.
understand why is it important to you. So so G is goals, P is a purpose. And I think it's like peeling an onion. The first response the client gives you on why retirement or creating a fund for my daughter's wedding is important, it's not really deep. It's really shallow. And in order to really get leverage and help clients have a higher probability of achieving goals, we need leverage. And to get leverage, you really need to get someone's emotions involved, right? And once you ask that question, why is that important to you? You'll get the real reason why. And maybe it's, you know what? It's because my parents worked 3 jobs and they never were able to provide for me the way that they wanted to. And I saw how that affected them. Something like that. You really get down to those emotions that are embedded down deep. And those are the leverage that we're looking for because, as you know, planning is difficult, right? Because it's a trade-off between now and later.
Yep. Deferred gratification.
Exactly. And then the S, of course, is a simple action plan, GPS. And then we have the investment management, which is kind of the last part of the process, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Financial independence is one of the absolute biggest goals that we're planning for, but there's a lot of other additional areas that we're also advising on, as we go through and understand their purpose and their goals and why they're doing everything they're doing. And as we go through and develop the recommendations, we're also taking into consideration, their tax situation, the current tax situation, as well as future potential tax situation. How can we help plan now to put them in a much more efficient spot later down the road? Estate planning, making sure we've got everything in order. And so really we're trying to go through and look at everything that touches their financial life. And once we develop that plan and understand what direction we're going to be heading, then the investment management plays a pretty big role from that point forward, because now we know, okay, how much money does the client need to accumulate? What type of returns do they need to hit their goals? What is the appropriate portfolio? What types of accounts do we need to set up? What should they be contributing to? What investment strategy should we be pursuing? And, how are we going to manage that moving forward? And so we go through all of this with the client and make sure that we are helping them invest in a portfolio that's right for their plan, that's right for their comfort level, and that we're going to guide them moving forward with continuing to contribute and help them understand what to expect with the portfolio as we go through different market environments. There's times when the stocks, for example, are doing very well, and there's times when they're not. How do we handle that? What do we do as things change? And we're here to guide them through, those difficult situations. Money can be very emotional, and a lot of times that leads people to making irrational decisions. And so we're looking over their shoulder and keeping them on the path.
Right. So it's like, does the client need a Volvo or do they need a Ferrari? It's all about what they really need. I mean, I think everyone likes the sexiness of the Lamborghini or a McLaren, but reality is that they may not, around a corner, they may lose control and psychologically fail, right? And then, when we go back to what you were speaking of is when things get volatile, they're going to want to sell. It's really, what we deal with and what most people deal with is psychology, right? Everything that we do is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And people are emotional creatures, and that's exactly why most people want to invest when the market is doing really well. It's already gone up a lot. They're ready to put money in. When the market pulls back, suddenly they don't want to add anything to the portfolio.
Right. Which is what creates the waves in the market anyway, right? It's
Yep.
all psychology. So, yeah. So, if I understand, if we just summarize what we talked about, so we're a fee only wealth management firm. So, founded by two CFPs, certified financial planners, and really the core services that we provide are financial planning and investment management. So, what's an average client look like? What's that profile look like?
Yeah. So we are working with a variety of different individuals and business owners, and we certainly have an affinity for working with business owners. We share a lot in common. We're entrepreneurs ourselves. So a lot of our clients are business owners. They run different types of businesses, different sizes, all the way from the sole proprietor, maybe an attorney, running a sole practice to, the business owner that has, over 100 employees. So, we're working with a lot of different types of folks. I'd say typically we're working with families. Most of our clients are married with children, and so we're helping them prioritize a number of different goals and things that are making demands on their cash flow. I would say household income is typically, 250,000 and up. But the most important aspect, of income is that there is discretionary income.
Right.
The folks we're working with are motivated to save and invest for the future. They want financial independence. They want to reach these financial goals that they have. And so really the income level is not as important as what's the amount of discretionary income and how much are they willing to commit to saving. Because I know you've seen it, I've seen it. There's folks out there whose income is much lower than 250,000, but they have an incredible ability to live frugally and save a lot of money. And we can provide a lot of value to those clients as well. Average portfolio size, I would say our average, account is, between 500,000 and 5 million. We're able to bring a lot of value to clients that fit that mold.
Right. Yeah. So I think the importance is at this juncture in our career, with the experience that we've had working with ultra high net worth individuals and just common people, right? We have the ability to work with anyone. I just think that, number one, we have that affinity with an entrepreneur because we are entrepreneurs as well. So we understand the opportunities that business can give you and your family. We also understand the challenges, and in certain periods or cycles of a business, it doesn't really make sense sometimes to invest outside of the business. So, a lot of times it might make sense to plow everything back and eventually build up that, what you were talking about is not only build up your income, your personal income, but the free cash flow or the discretionary cash flow. Because you're right. I mean, we've worked with clients that make $500,000, but they don't know where it all goes, and they're really saving very little for their future. So they're pretty much doomed if they don't make any changes to maintain that business, to maintain pedaling on the bike, if you will. And I think long term, that's a very dangerous track to be on.
Yeah, it's very important to live within our means and make sure that we are paying for these future things that we want today. You've got to be putting money away and make sure that it's going to be there for tomorrow.
Right.
And just to elaborate a little more, the folks we're working with are everyday people. You don't have to be super wealthy to work, hire an advisor. It just means that you want somebody with some expertise to give you some guidance. And oftentimes we use the analogy that we are, the personal trainer for your finances, the household CFO. And even if you think about a personal trainer, athletic trainer, you don't have to be a professional athlete to hire a personal trainer. Regular everyday people hire personal trainers all the time to help get in shape. And it's the same thing with finances. I think it's a very good thing to be working with a coach, a financial coach, a financial advisor, to make sure that you're saving what you need to save. You have somebody there to push you and, remind you why you're doing this. Help you go the extra mile, make sure that you're making smart decisions. And when you have somebody with expertise helping you out, they're able to get you to where you want to go much faster. I don't know if you've ever put together, I was thinking of an analogy. I bought some rocking chairs a couple years ago, and I assembled them myself. And the first one took me 2 hours to put together. I'd never done it before. It was something new to me, so it took me a really long time. But by the time I got to that sixth chair, I was cranking those things out. It took me no time at all. And you and I, we're doing financial plans for people every day for the last 15 plus years. We understand what strategies are out there, what tools are available. And so we can help clients figure out what they need to do much faster, typically, than they can figure that out on their own. And we can help prevent them from making mistakes along the way. You know how that goes. If it's painful to make mistakes and have to learn from your own mistakes. It's much wiser to learn from the mistakes that others have made. And so we can help shorten that learning curve by guiding people in the right direction with their finances.
Right. So it's in business, what we talk about is you have to delegate to elevate. And that's the same thing on the personal side, right? We talked about this probably last week about we could change our own oil on our car. We could go home and mow the lawn and do things like that. And there's nothing wrong with doing it yourself. But I think when you work all week, maybe sometimes 6 days a week, growing your business, the last thing you want to do is spend your free time doing those items instead of, you'd rather spend it with your family. And it's the same thing, I think, with anything in life. It's a trade-off. No matter if you're a billionaire or just getting started, there's the great equalizer in life is time. We all get the same amount of time in the day. I don't know how many years we all have, but in the day, we all get 24 hours, right? And what do you do with that 24 hours, I think, is really important. It's the distinguishing factor, I think, between a very successful person and one that is not, is how do you use every second of your day? And I think that's why entrepreneurs hire us, the ones that have discretionary income. They're like, look, to your point, I know I'm smart. There's a lot of things that I know about finance, but I don't have the time or the energy to devote to this. And so I hire it out. So I hope that we've given the listeners an idea of who we are, Lake Hills Wealth Management, what we stand for, and who we help and the services that we provide. So why don't we shift gears and more zoom out, if you will, and let me ask you I'd like to know what the benefits of working with a financial advisor are. I know we get that question. So what do you think the benefits are?
Well, there's the obvious answer that, most people are going to expect. We have the knowledge and the tools to make sure that clients are implementing savvy financial strategies and making smart decisions. But really, when you boil it down, I think the biggest value that we bring to the table is the coaching and the guidance aspect, helping clients stay the course. It's one thing to make a plan. It's a whole nother thing to actually implement it, take action on it, and stick with it. And that's where the big value is in what we do, is making sure that not only is there a good plan in place, but helping clients implement that plan and stay the course and looking over their shoulder and making sure they're doing the right things. And, we're there to let them know if they're making a mistake or there's a change that needs to be made. We're there to let them know and provide that guidance and advice.
Yeah, you touched base on something I think is really important, which is objectivity, or what we call blind spots, right? We all have them. we're not able to objectively view ourselves and our situation, which is why even you and I talk about when we plan for our own finances, we have each other to look over our backs and say, what am I missing here? Which is exactly what we do when we plan for anyone, right? We do it in a team atmosphere because a lot of times we all have biases and we all have blind spots. So I think if I rephrase what you were saying, is like, the benefits of an advisor is not only to delegate to a professional, but really you're hiring someone to look for those blind spots, identify those, and help you avoid the pitfalls of those blind spots.
Exactly. Somebody there to hold you accountable and keep you going in the direction you need to go in.
Right. Because I'm sure you would agree that if you've ever, it's like January is around the corner and a number one resolution is about getting in shape typically, right? And we all go on this journey January 2nd, get in the gym, and probably by the end of the week, this is for the birds, this is tough.
Yeah.
And the benefits of hiring a trainer, because I've been there, the trainer is you're going to show up and you're not going to feel like working out, right? And if you don't have a trainer, maybe you go in there for 20 minutes, you lift up the lightest weights you can, you kind of break a sweat, and then you're like, I'm going to try this again tomorrow. If you hire a trainer, he or she is not letting you out of there until that hour and a half or whatever is up and you are exhausted. When you thought you could only do 10, you end up doing 15. And I think that's exactly what we help our clients with, right? Is they think that they only can do X, and we push those limitations, those self-limiting beliefs that they have. And it's always a joy to be able to say, you know what, your original goal was to retire or be financially independent at 60, but guess what? We can do it at 55, right? Because we've been focusing on this goal, and those goals act like this huge magnet that attracts you to them. And then once you get that goal achieved, it's only human nature to make a new one. So I think you summarized that really well. For those out there that are looking for a financial advisor, what questions would you suggest that they ask when interviewing the different advisors out there?
Yeah, I think I would start with, I want to understand how the advisor is paid, first of all. Are they a commission-based advisor that needs to sell something to earn a living, or am I going to be paying them some type of fee to receive the advice? And I'd want to know that up front. Conflicts of interest, I would ask about that. What conflicts of interest exist, if any? Sometimes firms will have, for example, a fund family that they own and they prefer to recommend. So that might be a conflict of interest I would want to know about. Also experience, how long have they been an advisor? What's the typical profile of a client that they're working with? And, ideally you want someone that has some reasonable experience, depending on your situation. I think that would determine how much experience you might want. If you're starting out, then, you may not need someone with as much experience. If you've got a lot of complicated strategies, well, then more experience would be helpful. I think also working with a CFP is important. That way, there is, a baseline of knowledge that exists. Also, some other things like investment philosophy. I would want to understand what is the advisor's philosophy on some different topics that I'm looking to get advice on, and make sure that, their philosophies align with my philosophy. And so I think those are some of the important things, and that's where I would start in a conversation when interviewing an advisor.
Right. And I think obviously we're a firm that is built on a foundation of financial planning, meaning that is, we feel like, the most important part of wealth management, right? There's, right or wrong, there's other firms out there that really don't have a financial planning focus, that really focus on investment management. But we've talked about this time and time again, and we've seen the data within our practice that those that are planning typically have more wealth, are reaching their goals at a higher degree of probability, and actually moving beyond their original goal. versus those that are just saying, hey, here's an account for you to manage.
Yeah, that's great that you pointed that out. There are plenty of advisors out there that don't do planning. Like you said, I guess as I was talking earlier, I'm just thinking about financial planners like us. So yeah, it's important to understand what type of service they're going to offer you. Is it just going to be something upfront that they're going to do today to get you on the right track, or are they going to be providing, long-term service and helping you stay the course and implement? But yes, planning, the data definitely shows people who engage in financial planning and work with advisors tend to have much more money, not because they came in wealthier, but because they saved more and they focused on it and accumulated and stuck with the plan.
Right. So really, when we talk about financial advisors, a good financial advisor is a personal CFO, right?
Yeah, personal CFO, someone that's going to give you the objective advice, that you need to know as the CEO of the household. You need to know, good or bad, are we going in the right direction? Are these goals reasonable? What are my options? The CFO, the advisor, is there to give you that advice and let you know, hey, this doesn't look realistic. We might need to consider this type of goal instead for now, unless you can make these types of changes to get on track.
Right. And so it's just like in the corporate world or business world, the CEO is like, look, this is the destination I want to go, or this is the company I want to buy. How do I do it? And it's the CFO that is going to say yay or nay on that. We can do that. And here's how we'll do it. So in our world as a personal CFO, I mean, the benefits are vast. I mean, we're looking at, as you've already said, we're looking at basics, cash flow, cash reserve, liabilities, insurance. We're looking at your investments. We're looking at short-term goals. Maybe it's a college fund. Maybe it's buying a new house, retirement or financial independence, estate planning, taxes. I mean, we're really looking at everything. We are one of the only, if not only, advisors that works with the client that has all of the pieces of the puzzle. The attorney does not have all the pieces of the puzzle. The CPA does not as well. So I think we would say we're the quarterback.
Absolutely. And there's many times, I know you've experienced this as well, where when working with a client, we find out that there was something that, for example, their CPA didn't know about. And the client didn't know they even needed to tell their CPA about it. But since we have all of the information and data, we're able to point out, hey, we need to let your CPA know about this because there's some potential tax benefits for you here. And so by connecting professionals, we're able to provide a higher quality of advice. We're able to coordinate advice with these other professionals, with their attorney, with their accountant, and make sure that everybody knows what's going on. And because we have all that information, we're often able to help facilitate, some valuable conversations and bring some additional value to the table.
Right. Yeah. I think that, again, just to kind of finish the question I asked about when someone's interviewing an advisor, that's why we're saying that it's important to find somebody that their foundation is planning, because it will, really good financial advisor, a planner, will uncover a lot of opportunity for the client. Just the other day, we worked on a case together where we discovered that the client had a loss carry forward from big business write-off, and the CPA, which, we know, I'm not faulting them, they never let us know, right? And I caught on to that in a conversation, and you and I talked about doing an IRA to Roth conversion, right? So I think that would save the client tens of thousands over their lifetime, even more. Or a couple of weeks ago, when interest rates were really low again, or not long ago, we talked about, hey, let's call all these clients and refinance, talk about refinancing their house. So it's extremely important to have someone, like we say, a personal financial advisor, a personal CFO on your side, because someone that's just managing assets is not going to be looking out for those blind spots. So let's talk about challenges. So everyone has, times of easy times, I guess you would say, and times that are challenging. So ebbs and flows. From a personal standpoint, financial standpoint, what do you think is the number one challenge for entrepreneurs?
From a financial standpoint, there's a lot of competing things that demand their capital, and they've got a lot of different goals. And we're here to help them prioritize and organize their information and how they're going to tackle these different things that they want to do. And even outside of the finances, one of the biggest challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs and people in general face is just the amount of time that they have to dedicate and focus on some of these important issues and topics. And so, by working with us, we're able to take these issues off their plate and make sure that they're being taken care of and that smart decisions are being made.
So basically, it's very challenging to not only grow a business, but also to manage your personal finances at the same time. So it's having the right professionals in your corner, right? To overcome challenges.
Definitely. Yeah. Running a business, it's, there's always something else that could be invested in inside the business. And so you do have to strike a balance for setting something aside for the household and for the personal long-term goals while also investing and taking care of the business. The business is definitely a big asset, for the client. And we absolutely want to help the client focus on growing that asset. That's an important part of their net worth. And part of our job is to help them grow the net worth. So we're here to give them that objective view on how do they balance their finances between the business and personal. How do these competing goals, how do we handle that? How do we plan for that?
Right. So as we like to say, success doesn't happen in a vacuum or in isolation. It's all about, whether it's on the personal side or it's on the business side, it's all about having those professionals or an adequate peer group around you that's looking out for your blind spots, that's helping you. Maybe they've been down this road before and they can kind of holler back at you and tell you, hey, there's a pothole coming up here, on the right-hand turn. So, which is why we also have Profits to Wealth masterminds as well, which is peer-to-peer platform to help businesses succeed, right? And get that same kind of advice in a like-minded community, if you will.
Yeah. The goal there is helping, businesses become more successful, helping entrepreneurs build businesses that they will be able to step away from someday without the business burning down. So we want to help our clients create these better businesses, more valuable businesses, and a better lifestyle, for themselves, for their family, help them reach their goals.
Right. So a lot of challenges for business owners and even individuals, but I think you nailed it on that one. So yeah, I've got to switch gears to a little bit of rapid fire for you. I've got some questions. So the first one I have is, what do you do to keep your edge, to sharpen the axe, so to speak?
One of our mantras around here is constant, never-ending improvement. And so I read books, I listen to podcasts, industry-specific podcasts as well, trying to stay up to date on the latest things that are going on in the financial planning world. Conferences, I think attending conferences is important for your industry, making sure that you're spending some time investing in yourself to learn your craft. But those are the three main things, and of course, there's a lot of other daily information that we also read and consume. But yeah, continuing to learn and just knowing that there's a lot of information out there. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. And so through acquiring additional knowledge, through reading these books, through the podcasts, we're always trying to get better. We're always trying to learn new strategies and tactics to help provide, better advice and better service to our clients.
If you could recommend one book, what would it be?
The most recent conference I went to, which was just a month ago, the E-Money conference, which was held here in Austin, Texas. I was fortunate enough to attend that, and there was a lot of great information, a lot of great keynote speakers there. And there was one speaker in particular that really caught my attention. I'm a big believer in positive psychology and the impact of having a positive can-do attitude. And there was a Harvard guy that spoke to us, and his name is Sean Acor, and he also wrote a book. Well, I found his talk so interesting that I immediately downloaded his book and read it. And it's called The Happiness Advantage. And in the book, he talks about the 7 principles of positive psychology that fuel success and performance at work. And I found this book just to be extremely interesting. And there's a lot of information in there that, I'm trying to implement, not only here at work, but just on a personal level. And just to give you an idea, kind of the fundamental premise of the book is that we are brought up believing that success breeds happiness. And the studies that they've done have proven that not only is that incorrect, it's actually completely backwards. It's actually happiness breeds success. And I would highly recommend that book. I just finished it recently, so that's kind of a timely recommendation. But I think there's something in that book for everybody. And yeah, go check it out. The Happiness Advantage.
That sounds like a great book. I haven't read that yet. What does financial freedom mean to you?
To me, financial freedom means that I can do what I want. I can spend time doing what I enjoy and not worrying about making ends meet. I've gotten to a point, financial independence means I've gotten to a point where I'm only working because I want to, not because I have to.
Right. So basically, if you and the family want to go on a trip for a while and you have the business set up, right, where you could leave, you have the finances to do so, right?
Yeah, that would be point of arrival. You're not worried about, the financial aspects of that. You're to the point where you're doing what you love, not because, you're not doing things because you have to go do them for financial reasons. And we're always still going to have a budget. You still have to live within your means. It doesn't mean you get to a point where you can just do anything in the world. We're modest people. We have a comfortable lifestyle, and the goal is we just want to be able to maintain that lifestyle, maybe take a trip or two a year, be able to spend time with our children, especially as they get older and more busy. And from a business perspective, creating a business that runs like a finely tuned machine, something where if I'm not in the office that day or for a couple days, we don't miss a beat.
Right. Yeah. So that I like your definition of financial freedom. Into your book recommendation, I'm assuming that book and the study, because I've read similar books, it would say, don't wait to be happy until you reach, for example, financial freedom. You have to start today by being happy. And I know journaling, you do that, I do that, and gratitude, right? Having gratitude for what you have in pursuit for what you want. So I think I like your definition there.
Yeah.
So
you hit that on the head, and that's absolutely, one of the main points of the book is happiness isn't going to happen at some point of arrival. We will, as human beings, continually just move the goalpost
right
to the next target, to the next achievement. You have to come to terms with that and just be happy now. And there's a number of different things that we can do to help train our brains to have a more positive outlook. I guess I learned this in the book, through years and years, thousands of years of evolution, our brains tend to focus on negative things, what could harm us, as a defense mechanism. And so for many people, it's effortless to see the negative that's out there and things that could go wrong. And it takes a little more effort to focus on the good and to be grateful for things and to recognize that. And so, some of the tips in the book is just creating methods like journaling to spend a little time focusing on what is positive. And just the simple act of doing that will, have tremendous results in helping people become more positive and optimistic.
Solid advice. So how does Jason Clevlen want to be remembered?
I'm a pretty simple guy. I would love to be remembered as somebody that was always willing and eager to help other people. As simple as that. I want to be here to help my friends, help my family, help clients, reach their goals. So whatever it is that they need, I'm here to help find a solution. I'm a problem solver, and I'm happy to help people do that. And so that's, like I said earlier, that's a big part of what attracted me to this career is, I get to help people every day. And yeah, we're, largely focused on the financial aspect of it. Math and money is always something I've been good at and have an understanding of. And so I've found a way where I can apply that talent to helping people. And so, yeah, if there was something I could be remembered for, it would definitely be just eager and willing to help people.
That's powerful. Growth and contribution. I know that's what we instill in this organization. We talk to the clients about as well. When you get to that point, I think you will have extreme fulfillment is when you realize that there's so much to learn. That's that whole growth aspect, right? Personal development. You keep that mentality of constant, never-ending improvement and then contributing. So it's getting outside of yourself and contributing to the greater good, right? It's no longer me, but we. So that's powerful, Jason. Thanks for sharing that. I got one last question. You walk into the bar. What do you order? Well, he's stumped.
Man, what time of day is it?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I could definitely go to the bar and sit down and enjoy a Dos Equis.
I like that. He's the most interesting man.
Yeah, keep it light, keep it flavorful, and one or two will do me just fine.
I thought you might say Topo Chico.
Yeah, crossed my mind.
Well, so Profits to Wealth, as hopefully everyone knows by now, is a show about business, money, and freedom. And we've talked about those 3 subjects today. I'd like to know, Jason, you're going to be helping us on the show with the money part, right? Twice a month, you're going to be on the show. What can we expect from you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being here and discussing education and tips for personal money mastery, just different relevant topics in the financial world, different strategies and ideas. I want to be bringing this stuff to people's attention so they know that these strategies exist and to help people facilitate conversations and thought around things that they could be doing better with money.
Well, we're definitely going to look forward to having you on the show again, twice a month. So that way we can talk, half the time. It's a weekly show, half the time about profits, obviously business. And then you're the wealth, the money, the freedom part. So I'm definitely looking forward to co-hosting the show with you.
Yeah, I'm excited, Jack. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I really appreciate your time today, Jason. This has been a lot of fun. And I look forward to answering commonly asked questions with you and helping others on the journey to money mastery. And I want to remind everyone before we sign off that if you have a question for Jason or myself, head over to profitstowealth.com/contact. And we have a place there where you can submit your question. So until next time, Jason, it's been a pleasure.
It's been fantastic, Jack. Looking forward to the next one.
That's all for this episode of Profits to Wealth. But we have more resources available to you on our website. Head over to profitstowealth.com and take our questionnaire to find out how we can provide you with a tailored approach to your entrepreneurial journey. It's available exclusively on profitstowealth.com. Until next time, we look forward to talking business, money, and freedom right here on Profits to Wealth.